Welcome to Expedition Networking, a special segment of the Networking RX podcast. I'm Frank Agan, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections, and your host for this program. For those of you who are familiar, on the Networking RX podcast, we share information and have conversations with experts, such as authors, researchers, and social scientists. And all of these programs are aimed at helping you learn how to become better at building professional relationships and understanding why they work. In this Expedition Networking segment, however, we're going to bring on successful entrepreneurs and unique professionals and explore their networking adventure and learn how they used relationships to create lasting success. Today on Expedition Networking, I have Paula Mattisonsierra.
You got it right, sir.
I know. I've struggled with that. Now, I'm going to tell everybody, but I thought I had Paula on before. Paula and we've known each other for, I don't know, almost a year now. And we had a wonderful conversation. And I was probably thinking in that conversation, wow, what a great interview this person would be. And then we never got around to it for whatever reason. But Paula's out in the San Francisco Bay Area. She is the MacGyver of marketing. She's into strategic marketing, helping companies with their day-to-day marketing. She's a business advisor. She is a Uber networker. She is long time into BNI and a couple other networking adventures. But she's the founder of Power Marketing SF. And Paula, please accept my apologies and welcome to the program.
You are absolutely forgiven, sir. Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, finally.
Yeah. No, I know. As I was getting ready for the show, I'm doing a search because I wanted to introduce you and say, hey, go listen to the first episode where she talked about herself. And then I realized there is no first episode. So this is the first episode, and we will get you on again because you are a wealth of networking knowledge. As you and I have talked, marketing and networking are really intertwined. And, building relationships and, what people do and personally mimic in many ways what people do with their businesses. But I really want to use this as an opportunity, a platform for you to share your story, how you got to here. And I don't mean San Francisco. Well, you're from Jamaica, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, I'm from Jamaica originally. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a journey here, and it involves other people, and I want to hear it. So I want to hear it again. I want to share it. So, Paula, please share your story with us.
Okay. This is my fourth business that I've started. I started the first one very young when I first came here from Jamaica. I sold it very quickly to start college. And that's where I discovered the mechanics of starting a business, looking for that great idea. But how important marketing and the selling portion was to it. If you can't sell, you're not making monies or revenues, right? If you're not taking care of your clients, that's just not happening. So, it's the reason why I decided to go to college for marketing. And it's the reason why I did not go away to school and stayed in New York instead. So yeah, and it's been 4 businesses later. The last was a special event, then a clothing business, and now marketing. And in between that, I was in corporate America for about 8 years on the agency side. In New York. So yeah, and that's where all my marketing experience comes from. And of course, my entrepreneurial ventures as well. So
you have an incredible network. And I know that just from talking to you. I know that by watching you interact with others. At what point did you realize that, there was something to these relationships?
Well, I'll tell you what, I did not realize how important these relationships were until 2009. 2009 hit like a beast, right?
Yeah.
I ended up losing my clothing business. We were in about 85 stores internationally. And, when the entire world was going through a crisis, And so when those clients weren't doing well, that's dragging you under like a very heavy anchor, you
Yeah.
know. And so decided to close the business, and my financial planner at the time, just saw that I was kind of like trying to figure it out and said, come to a networking event with me at 7, we meet at 7. Sounds reasonable. The night before I called and I said, wait a second, was that 7 a.m. or p.m.? She was like, 7 a.m. I'll come get you at 6:30. Bye. I'm like, man, 7 is like a really unreasonable time to be hanging out with people.
Right.
But can I tell you, meeting those guys, and this was my first encounter with structured networking at that time. I did not know that people were meeting in that format. I'd been to Chamber of Commerce, I've been to, other variations, mixers get together, but not in this fashion. And again, why were they so perky at 7 o'clock in the morning? No one had coffee yet. It just felt very unreasonable, by the way. And yeah, it was interesting. And these guys, they got up and they said that their motto was givers gain.
Yeah.
And all my life, I had always thought in terms of giving in order to receive. And I never felt like I'd found people who were very much in that mindset. And now I was in a room full of people who were all into it. It was like, oh crap. And by the way, I did not have a business at the time. I just closed business number 3. So I was thinking, go back to corporate or something. I was hustling to find a new business to start because of that meeting and the excitement of it, So yeah, that was my simple journey really to structured networking. Yeah.
Well, and that was your BNI chapter. I have a similar story because I didn't quite get it either. I was this attorney running around and went to the first meeting of what now is my organization, AmSpirit Business Connections, and just immediately kind of, wow, this makes total sense. We're all here to help each other. Yeah, I can do this. I can talk you up. I can't talk me up. I'm not as, I can, but I'm not as strong at it. I can, it's just, and that's why your clients hire you, right?
Exactly. And can I tell you, I felt that it made me a better business owner. Because not only did I have the wealth of my own experience, but I had the wealth of everyone else's experience in the room as well. And until that time, I realized one very significant thing, and I hadn't even read Michael Gerber's E-Myth Revisited yet. The way I was doing business before was flawed. Trying to run your business by yourself is ridiculous. And it is kind of the American way of thinking, like, go up that hill by yourself, do it by yourself. I'm a self-made person.
Lone Ranger.
Lone Ranger, very selfish mindset, like I did it all by myself.
Yeah.
And that is just not the way of running an effective business. It was, like I said, very interesting being in a room full of people where I could now sit there and listen to their 30-second infomercial where they were sharing basics about their business, little insights that I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have known from the business attorney or the business insurance guy, or, on and on and on. The IT guy, it's like, oh, wow, I need to know that about my technology. Oh, good to know. It made me a better business owner. And I think if anything, that's another one of those gets,
Yeah, no, it's, I totally agree. That it's kind of a unintended consequence of gathering with like-minded people who do different things, because that's the nature of these groups, is they're all built up with non-competing professionals. And I tell people I know a little about a lot of things, I guess is what I say. Real estate. Yeah, I know a little about real estate. Don't hire me to sell your house, but I know enough to be able to spot issues and make referrals, make introductions.
Absolutely, because someone's been educating you for X number of months or years, or on what makes for a good referral. Looking at what the client's needs are, what are those needs? What are those challenges? What are those asks that I'm supposed to be asking? And it makes, let's call it what it is. I look great to my clients because I always got a guy.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I have someone that I meet with every single week. So in a weird way, they're accountable to me to complete your job as effectively as possible. And they'll bend over backwards to make sure that you're taken care of properly. Of course, I don't have to literally say all of that, but I can confidently refer this person because I've taken the time to really get to know them. And now I can offer my business owner an actually vetted person who I know is going to do the job right the first time. Because think about it, when you run your business, it's kind of like a crapshoot, right? You hire an IT guy, it's a crapshoot, right? You saw something on a Yelp search, or you met him briefly here, there, and the other thing. But to get an introduction from someone else saying, well, I've worked with him for years now, he's great, he always follows up, etc., etc. That makes for a solid referral to someone who's vetted, because as small business owners, we encounter a lot of those contractors. Let's call it what it is, So I love being that resource to my clients. Like, yeah, don't worry about it. If you need anything, reach out to me, and I'll, if I don't have someone directly, I can find someone for you,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a degree of accountability, because when you refer someone from your network, they need to be accountable to giving good service, or they're off the list.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's a powerful driver. And I think that weeds a lot of people out of these sorts of organizations, because they can't quite get that. They can't quite
Absolutely.
get, which is a good thing. That's the one thing about AmSpirit members, or BNI members, or LaTip, or Gold Star. There's lots of these organizations out there.
Advisors,
is you can really rely on anybody in the group, because they've been vetted by the group. They're not going to be in your BNI chapter for however many years, more than 6 months, if they don't operate correctly.
Absolutely.
It's just not.
Absolutely. And those folks who show up with their hands out, because they do exist, they become BNI members, Provisor member, Networking Hub members, I mean, it happens, but they do quickly get weeded out, because putting in the work to form a relationship is really not their MO. And it just doesn't work for them. One of the things that I love about networking is that it has forced me to run my business in a more professional manner. Again, because of the professionals that I'm surrounded by, but also because I'm doing things differently. If I'm looking at networking and formulating and prioritizing my relationships, now I'm doing it very differently, as opposed to I got to get it done. I have to be the technician. I have got to be the visionary, the salesperson, the manager, and do all of these things by myself. It puts you in a very different mindset. And that mindset is what I believe is very difficult for some people, because they're so pre-programmed on the previous paradigm, which is do it by myself. They can't get away from that. It's like, no, if you prioritize relationships, people are forwarding you referrals confidently, because you put the time in on educating them. And actually, by educating them, you're also educating yourself and being better and better as you're going along as well. So yeah, it's very difficult. Not everyone can do the structured networking format, is what I'm realizing, or want to commit to it, So
no, I totally agree. If I had a dime for everybody who said they were going to take a look at it, I wouldn't have to be doing it, right? I mean, but I really think it comes down to the people who don't see the value in this. They're stuck in that old mindset of, I call it A to B thinking. I'm A, I need to sell to B. which, yeah, you need to sell to somebody, but the notion of these networking groups is not A to B, but A to C to D to E to F. Oh, by the way, F was the college roommate of B and going to get you in the door. Whereas before you couldn't get beyond the gatekeeper to have that conversation. But when the college roommate says, hey, you need to talk to Paula, she is great. B, whoever he or she is going to say, okay, yeah, if you tell me I need to, then I'm going to do it.
Exactly.
And that just
tell you, by the way, Frank, how much because I like going in and doing my pitch and feeling questions and finding out more. I really love that. And I come in with my little cute PowerPoint presentations. I don't do that anymore. That's not happening anymore because people from my referral networks are referring me with confidence, so, from BNI, Provisors, all these groups, like your group that you put together, because you created a whole environment via LinkedIn, a networking hub. They're referring me with such confidence that it's already like a given. You're starting that meeting off with 100% already. And it's yours to lose, right? But it's exciting. I mean, I remember the first time I got that first referral, I almost sold a little bit past the point. And I'm like, wait a second, shoot, like they're already a couple of steps ahead, So I had to kind of reshuffle my programming and go. They just want to know, like, okay, when can you start? How long does this take? How much do you set? Like, what's the onboarding process look like? They had already passed, and I had to start getting used to that part of it. It's humbling though, because you realize this is coming from someone else's referral, and it's like, no, I'm going to use my reputation and refer you because I'm confident about you, and I know that you will strive to do a great job. It's very humbling, So
it's you don't want to mess it up, right? You don't. And I think in time you get comfortable that you're not, you just have to relax. But it is an unusual first time of, I don't have to sell myself. The sale is already made. How do you invoice? How do you work? How does it all happen? Well, let's switch gears here a little bit. Let's talk about power marketing. The types of work you do with clients would be helpful. And give us an idea of that, and then certainly how people can get a hold of you.
Oh, no, definitely. So I focus at the founder level. Does not mean that I'm doing startups. I am focusing on clients who are 3+ years into running their business. And, I always preface that with a quick conversation, because I think the startup level is so important. Because especially if it's your first business, this is where all the learning happens. These are where the relationship, new employees, you must go through that level, and it's going to be great and not so great. And there's going to be incredible days, and that's the learning. And I can understand why they do not want to bring someone like me in at that level, because they're still thinking they're invulnerable, right? You must go through that in order to learn. Once they've gone through that at 3+ years and realize that they do absolutely, in order to grow a business beyond themselves, a blossoming business, they need to bring in other professionals. That's where I become a great contact for my business owners. So, but at the level where the business owners are still involved and I can get to them directly is a great point for me. I have great conversations with my founders. I can have very direct conversations with my founders. We are strategic and we're tactical. So we are having conversations about the plan. How does the plan tie to their operations? And I may ask questions about their hires, their infrastructure, their sales team. Who are we supporting? Which other vendors do they have out there, so that we can create an effective plan moving forward? And then most importantly, we manage the day-to-day operations. So it's not enough to have a plan. It needs to be managed. It needs to be executed. So what I find when I come in is that so many of my business owners have done a stellar job at hiring all of these vendors. Sometimes all of these vendors are doing slightly different plans. And so if you're not effectively managing them together under one umbrella, one goal, this could be detrimental for a business of that size. And so with the way our digital environment is right now, our reputation is determined by our customers, and managing that relationship is everything. And I always give the analogy of best friends. If you want to be best friends with someone, you want to get to know them like you and I, you spend time building that relationship.
Yeah.
How do I build that relationship? In essence, that is marketing. How do you build that relationship? And you don't build it by sending them off a sales coupon. We have a 2-for-1, or we're doing a discount on this service, or, et cetera. And then you do that once and you never do it again. You have to build on the relationship. It needs to be managed effectively, and it needs to be consistent. I'm not going to use the word persistent. It needs to be consistent over a period of time in order to build a relationship where they're thinking of you before your competition. So that's what we do in essence. We manage we offer a branding packet. We do the website. We don't do the writing only for outside folks. We only do that for our retainer clients because we deeply know them. It's a lot easier to create content when we know them in that way. Otherwise, I'd say I have a great referral to a content producer for you, a writer for you. And from that, we manage the vendor relationships as well. And we go over the analytics with you, ensuring that the analytics are on point, that you understand them and how they're tied into your bigger business goals. So, you heard me say it. I'm your offsite marketing department. I'm literally there as your resource.
Yeah. What's the best way for somebody to get a hold of you?
LinkedIn is a great way. Reach out to me, Paula Mattisonsierra, on LinkedIn, or my website, powermarketingsf.com. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram. On Instagram, I'm under my personal handle, because that's what most of you should be, guys. So that's pauladay_66. Reach out to me that way. I'd love to hear from you. Yeah.
Sounds great. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me on.
I'll get you on again. I will get you on again.
I have a lot to say about this, because can I tell you just how excited I am of people sitting down together and actually growing their business together. It's still very humbling to be part of these groups. What an amazing gift. So thank you for this.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AMSPIRIT.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.